Number 10.
The Washington Commanders. Now, highest scoring average, 29 a game all time for a rookie starting quarterback. But they've also played the easiest strength of schedule so far this year. The teams they've played, 96 wins and 129 losses. But Jaden Daniels, 3 of his 5 touchdown passes coming in the fourth quarter. I like the staff. I like the rookie. I still think the roster's a year away, 6 or 7 draft picks and a free agent signing or 3. Commanders at number 10.
Number 9.
The Chargers have limitations offensively, but they are the number 1 scoring defense in the league, so they're going to crack the hierarchy, and they're 6-0 when they score 20, when scoring 25 plus points. You're not going to beat them. It's hard for this team to get to 25 plus points, though. Ladd McConkey's been great, but they've kind of got B-level running backs. They don't get a ton out of their tight end position. They stay in games mostly because of their defense, great coaching in Herbert, but I put them at 9 Chargers.
Number 8.
The Ravens. They're probably better than this, but they've been a bit hot and cold. They have the number 1 offense. It is a run-first offense, back-to-back wins by 17-plus points. But I will say, and Lamar's been amazing. He's my MVP, leads the NFL in passer rating. I worry about them getting tight in big games. I would just be terrified if I was Baltimore having to open the playoffs in Pittsburgh after you just hammered them, but I have so much respect for the organization, I'll put them at 8.
Number 7.
But I think the Rams right now have a better defense. McVay, Stafford, Tyler Higbee, the tight end, is back. Matt Stafford, over his last 6 games, has a passer rating over 110. Nobody's getting to him. They're not turning it over. In the last 4 weeks, number 3 scoring defense. I think they're a year away. But Stafford has all sorts of time. It's the first time all year. The offensive line's in great shape. They got a weapon at tight end, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, and a brilliant head coach. Rams at 7.
Number 6.
Minnesota. You keep waiting for the shoe to drop. Sam Darnold has 30 touchdown passes this year. He had only 27 over the previous 4 seasons combined. So he's playing out of his mind. I don't think they have a great roster. I think they have a great coach, a really good quarterback, and a couple of outstanding young receivers. And Brian Flores right now is the best defensive coordinator in the league. So I can absolutely see them winning a couple of playoff games. 8-game winning streak. The Darnold story is comeback player of the decade in Sam Darnold. Vikings at 6.
Number 5.
But I like the Lions roster better, even with 19 defensive players, 14 currently on the IR, 19 total players on the IR. But I think they've got a better roster. They're the only undefeated team on the road. That speaks well to their run game and physicality. They're 7-0 on the road. 3rd straight game over 34 points. I like them a lot. But at some point, this league is a league of attrition, and I have concerns defensively.
Number 4.
That's why I put the Packers at 4, not because they drubbed the Saints. They lead the NFL in point differential, 9-2 record. Now, their losses are to Detroit, but this morning, they're a much healthier team. Josh Jacobs is so perfect for Matt LaFleur, the head coach. From Derrick Henry in Tennessee to Josh Jacobs. Jordan Love, by the way, is throwing less and yet scoring more. This team is on a roll. I always say my final 4 teams in the herd hierarchy are the teams I believe that can win the Super Bowl. Green Bay's one of them at number 4.
Number 3.
Buffalo, 9-1 over their last 10. Listen, the story of this team is the defense isn't as good, but the offense is better, and they don't turn the ball over, and you can't get to Josh Allen. He doesn't get sacked. Even when they play poorly, they win like this past weekend. James Cook has been a revelation for them for years and years. Josh didn't have a running back. Now he's got an A running back. Team is very good, can win it all.
Number 2.
Philadelphia. They lost, but Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley are the best running back, quarterback run tandem in a long time, and he got a concussion early in the game. So it's the number 1 rush offense, the number 1 or number 2 offensive line to Detroit. Their line play is exemplary, and I think it remains the best overall roster in the league in terms of young stars, stars in their prime, and older stars. Philly at 2.
Number 1.
But, you guys can all keep denying it. They're 19-1 Kansas City over the last 20 games and 11-0 in one-score games. Not every Super Bowl champ, you should have learned this from the dynasty known as the Patriots, not every Super Bowl champion is physically overpowering. Those Ray Lewis teams had better players than New England teams in most years. There were Colts offenses that blew you away. The Randy Moss offense for New England never got a trophy. This team, best coach, best big pressure quarterback, arguably best offensive lineman along with Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt and Chris Jones. They'll probably rest him down the stretch. Hollywood Brown is back. Isaiah Pacheco is back. I have them at number 1. And Nick right now, who...
All right. First off, man, you can't say... You can deny it all you want. You clearly had them second last week, so it's not like you had them the best team. So let's relax here, okay? Let's relax. But yeah, I think this top 10, again, at this point, I know I'm a broken record, but I just care so less about these numbers in terms of where they're at. Like, I'm not going to put the Ravens behind the Rams or even the Commanders behind the Chargers. Put the Chiefs ahead of the Eagles, the Bills behind one of the Vikings. Like it's just at this point of the season, I'm really just not gonna do it. It just seems to me that this is really such a free for all, and I kind of get stressed thinking about this because right now is that these teams are all just so similar in terms of what they can achieve. They all can get to the end goal of a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl, but for completely different reasons. They're led in the way they win, their style of play, what makes them special, what makes them great, what makes them weak at times. It's just all completely different. And he's saying that only these 4 teams, the Packers, the Bills, the Eagles, and the Chiefs, can win a Super Bowl. And I reject that. I wholeheartedly reject that. I think the Ravens can win a Super Bowl. I think the Vikings can win a Super Bowl. I think the Lions can win a Super Bowl. I don't know if the Rams would have enough. I do not believe the Chargers will win a Super Bowl this year, and I do not believe the Commanders. The only way the Commanders are winning a Super Bowl this year is if Jaden Daniels truly turns into the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. And it starts like this season, where he just proves to everyone that we've never seen a quarterback as great as him. That's the only way that happens. And even then, it's hard to imagine that would still even be possible. But so I'm not gonna say that either. But I'm also not so confident in saying that the Chargers are ahead of the Commanders. Like, I'm not so sure about that. The Chargers are kind of held together with not even duct tape, but like Scotch tape. I mean, they just are. I mean, I think Harbaugh and Herbert are elite together, but that team is not right there. And part of what Herbert needs to do offensively, I think he's limited with the pieces around him. And that's where someone who's as dynamic of a quarterback as a Jaden Daniels can use his legs in more key, really important moments, which then also forces the defense to play in a very specific manner. But yeah, I mean, the thing that I'm learning, and maybe it's different every year, but this is my first full year, first full season kind of doing this and going through all these and doing these top 10s and stuff like that. And to me, last year, it was so clear where these teams all were. Who were the top 10 teams, where they were. I was so much more comfortable saying, okay, well, this team is in front of this team and this team should be back here. Like, I was so much more comfortable doing that. Even though I wasn't doing it in like a via channel or making videos, but just at least in my mind, I'm like, this makes sense to me. But this season, I really, really struggle with it. And look no further than weeks ago, people were not putting the Vikings in the top 10. And I was like, of course they're top 10. And now they're 6. In the first handful of weeks, nobody was saying, Colin definitely did not have the Eagles in the top 10. And now they're 2. And last week they were 1. The Packers have been, I think almost every single team except for the Kansas City Chiefs and probably the Lions, maybe the Ravens, were in the top 10, out of the top 10, in the top 10, out of the top 10. And that's pretty remarkable, quite frankly. And I just can't recall in immediate recent memory that like the vast majority of these teams were in the top 10, out of the top 10, in the top 10, out of the top 10. 1 minute we have the Broncos, we have the Bucks. Nope, they're gone. They're out of here. The 49ers, at one point, Colin had the 49ers top 5. Nope, they're out. And that was not even injury related, quite frankly. So that's why it seems like a mess. And I'm saying in general, this is not directed towards Colin, directly. I'm just saying in general. And that's why it's I don't feel the need to keep trying to back myself into a corner to make sure that it's where these teams are at. And that's why the way how I kind of look at it is right now is who do I believe can win a Super Bowl? And it is the Chiefs, it is the Eagles, it is the Bills, the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Ravens. I know, that's 7 teams. That's I'm probably maybe forgetting a team. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's any other random teams I can't think about right now that maybe potentially deserve to be in there. And I can't think right now. But those are the teams that I'm most comfortable and confident saying. And that's why I always use the example. If the Bills played the Chiefs again, I have no idea who's going to win. If the Eagles played the Bills, I have no idea. Chiefs versus Vikings? Who could predict that? Seriously, who could honestly predict that? And that's why we need the playoffs. Because now we're going to see these teams when it matters most. We're going to truly see what does this look like right now. I'll probably be more confident after the first round of the playoffs to be okay, where are we at right now? At least I think I will, but I don't know. Who knows? And again, that's what's been so exciting this season. At one point, I thought the Bills were the best team in the NFL. At one point, I thought the Ravens were the best team in the NFL. At one point, I thought the Eagles were the best team in the NFL. The Lions were the best team in the NFL. And yeah, it is always a little difficult when you are dealing with injuries like the Lions to try to figure out what do those injuries mean. What players are down for the count? What players are coming back? It's a difficult thing to parse out. But I do think it's fair to say that these top 10 these 10 teams are there. I think the Steelers are if we were doing kind of just a tier or groups, I would throw them in this bag too. They definitely had a couple tough losses, which I think are unfortunate. Now they're dealing with some injuries. I'm excited to see what they look like against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the way how they play that game will really indicate to me more than anything in terms of where the Steelers are and what they're capable of doing. But I'm trying to think of it, not the Falcons, not the Buccaneers. I'm trying to think, not the Colts, the Dolphins. The Bengals, right? That's the thing. The Bengals keep winning. If the Bengals find themselves in the playoffs, that's what's so crazy. If the Bengals are able to play themselves into the playoffs, I'm not going to put them 10. They would skyrocket to top 5. So 1 minute, they're not even in the playoffs. And they're not a top 10 team. But if they win their next 3 games, and I think they need another team to lose. I'm not entirely sure what their whole playoff picture is. But they have to win out. But they have 2 games left. Right? 2 games, I'm pretty sure. Then what does that do? What does that do for them? Where does that, that they're going to skyrocket. So if they win these next 2 games, it's boom. Not to mention, you can make the argument that they're a top 10 team who's just missing the playoffs because they got off to a bizarre, really poor start. They just burned all their bad losses, just game after game after game. So it's just, I don't know, man. It's a weird situation to be in right now, but I love it, honestly. I really, really love it. I think it's so much more fun when it's a mess because I was confident last year, even if it didn't necessarily unfold exactly how I thought it was going to unfold, I was still so much more confident. I was confident that the Ravens were a great team. The 49ers, the Chiefs. I was confident that the Eagles weren't a great team despite their record. I was confident in 22 that the Eagles were a great team, that the Chiefs were a great team. I mean, think about it. 22, it was very obvious that the Eagles and the Chiefs were the best team, and they made it to the Super Bowl. The 2-1 seeds made it to the Super Bowl. I understand 49ers fans think that if the whole thing with the injury and all that, that's fine. You know, I'm not going to unpack that right now, but it's just like the two best teams made it. And so, and that's kind of also what happened even with the Ravens versus the Chiefs last year. I think the Ravens were the better team, but the Chiefs clearly better coaching and more prepared. And, you know, when you have that, you deserve to win. You deserve to win, especially if you're going to have someone as great as Patrick Mahomes be your quarterback as well. So it's like you're going to get the win. So like they all conceptually made sense. It's hard for me to explain if the Packers beat the Eagles. It's like I'm so excited to see why. Is it because Jordan Love really just shined and balled out? If the Eagles beat the Bills in the Super Bowl, is it because the Bills just could not stop Saquon Barkley in that defense? Like, I'm so fascinated to see why. You didn't really need a strong why in the last couple of years. It was just obvious. This is the better team. This is the better team. This is the better quarterback. This is the better defense. This is the better offense. Like, it's just very clear cut. I like when things are messy. I like when I'm truly going into a game and I'm like, I got no idea what's going to happen. None. When the Chiefs played the Bills in the regular season, I had no idea. Seriously, I mean, I had zero idea. And that excites me more than anything. And so that's why I talk about that a lot recently. Every time we kind of start talking about who's a Super Bowl contender, who are the top 10 teams, because that's where my mind goes. Because I automatically look at this 10 and I try to think to myself, okay, what does this mean? And I try to do matchups in my mind because that's what I try to think of. If the Eagles played the Chiefs, who's winning that game? And I'm like, if my conclusion is, I got no idea, it's like, well, then how can I confidently put one team ahead of the other? Like, that's where I'm at in this season. Earlier in the season, I didn't feel so. I felt more strongly about maybe where to place teams. As the season progressed, I reached the conclusion of I do not know. And again, credit to people who have who want to just, you know, force themselves to make a top 10 list or the tiers or groups or whatever. But it's just not how my mind works, honestly. But you know, still fun nonetheless. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Colin's herd hierarchy top 10 teams? Any teams that you think are missing? Any teams that you think should be moved up, moved back? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.